take a break from asanas today and break down a little bit of breath work, some different types of breathing that can be supports for pranayama. So they're called Jathara bhedanas. Jathara is the abdomen and bhedana is breath. So these are different abdominal breaths. There's 4 different kinds. 2 of these breaths are cooling, ta types of breaths. And then 2 of these breaths are heating, ha breaths. So we'll go ahead and break down those 4 different kinds. I'll talk you through them. Then if you want to make sure that you're sitting high enough, I'm sitting onto a blanket. My hips are relatively open, so that's enough support for me. But if your hips are tighter, the idea is the hip creases should be just slightly above your knees. So if the knees are too high, the spine is going to be compressed. The chest is going to kind of draw inward, and it's going to be really hard to feel that good movement of prana or breath. So the seat is really the first step to conscious breath and then pranayama. So once you find that seat, maybe you bring the hands into Gyan Mudra and start by closing the eyes. This first Jathara bhedana that we'll focus on is called Purna Ta. Purna means full, Ta is cooling. So it's full cooling abdominal breath. And this happens by breathing passively into the belly. Maybe even bring your hand to your belly for a moment to feel the breath passively going to your hand, to your belly. Just letting there be that passive release of breath. You shouldn't feel like you're having to control it all that much here. It's just passively releasing to the belly. Breath is called Ardha Ta. Ardha is half. That Ta cooling, Jathara bhedana, abdominal breathing. So it's still the same idea. You're breathing passively into your belly. Except now there's going to be an energetic constriction between the lungs and your diaphragm. Right? It's more energetic than this physical tightness that builds up between the lower ribs or lungs and diaphragm, but it's just an energetic draw in, an energetic hold. So it's subtle. You're still breathing into the belly, but maintaining just this little lock, this little constriction energetically between the dome of the diaphragm, between the lungs and the diaphragm. Breathing is called Ardha Ha. Ardha half, Ha heating, Jathara bhedana, that abdominal breathing. So this time the direction of the breath changes. You'll focus first on the perineum, that center of the pelvis. And then energetically, you'll inhale perineum to armpits and exhale armpits to perineum. You might notice there's more movement now starting to get created in the chest, but it's just half heating breath. So there's still this little hold between the lungs and the diaphragm, and that dome of the diaphragm. And just that energetic constraint right in the center of the torso. As you inhale, perineum to armpits. Exhale, armpits to perineum. And next we're going to do that Purna Ha, Jathara bhedana. Purna is full, Ha heating, abdominal breath. So the focus stays the same. It's that Ha breath. So you breathe, inhale, perineum to armpits, exhale, armpits to perineum. And since it's that Purna, that full breath, there's no longer that constriction or that restraint of movement between the lungs and the diaphragm. So now you breathe fully. Inhale, perineum to armpits. Exhale, armpits to perineum. And take a couple breaths in that Purnata, that full passive belly breath. So those 4 types of abdominal breathing, those 4 types of Jathara bhedanas, can not only support pranayama practice, different pranayamas, different breath restraints or control practices, they can also be used to support your asana practice. So that full heating breath is good for use during sun salutations or standing poses. That half heating breath would be good for more seated poses. And then that half cooling breath is good for inversions, eventually moving to that full passive breath, that full cooling breath for Shavasana. So you have those 4 breaths that we'll use for pranayamas, but you can also use them for your asana practice. All right, have a great morning.